A few years ago, I made a small base, but looking back, it wasn't really that small. I mean, this is the size of it. It was a 4x4 area on the inside, meaning the whole thing took up a 6x6 space, which in my eyes is positively massive. Elon Musk's new house is smaller than this thing, so I thought it was high time that we revisited the concept and we tried our best to create something that was truly tiny. Like, there's no debate. It is minuscule, and this is definitely going to involve a little bit of interesting redstone, that's for sure. So let's see, we're going to construct this thing out of waxed copper. I think we're also, let's get a little bit of acacia involved. I really like that color combination. And also I'm going to make use of these because they're ridiculously expensive and I can't use them in survival mode because I can't afford it, but in creative mode it's fine. So the plan is, it's going to be a 1x1 area. That is where we're going to be standing, and then the base is going to be constructed around it. So I guess if we kind of create this sort of pattern here, I mean, that could be it. We have this, and then this, and there we go. We are inside. This is the base. All right, I'm starting to realize that this could be a bit of a challenge. Now, obviously, all bases need a bed. And for this, I'm going to actually install the bed on the roof. So the bed is going to be the roof of the build. We'll remove that trapdoor there. That's how we're going to do that. Let's get some color coordinated plant action going on. That is beautiful. Look at that. Now, I'm not counting these in the footprint of the base, but I definitely think they look nice. So here we are. This is it. This is the size of my base, and the rules for this little base right here is that I need to stay in this area. I can't just drop down into a massive bunker. That's not how that works. I need to stay here. Everything needs to be accessible from this spot. So, let's get some bits planned out. This right here is going to be my storage system. I think I'm going to have an ender chest over in this area, but it feels like I should have something underneath it as well because I can reach down there. Yeah, so I've got an ender chest, and then I have my anvil down here as well. Over there, I've got my crafting bench, and we're going to do something interesting with that. Over here, I have my enchanting table. Then we're going to have a brewing stand as well. This is going to be a dropper, and I'm going to explain why in a little bit. And then in this corner over here, I'm hoping I should be able to have a villager. Is he going to reckon? Yes, he actually is. Can I get two in there? I think they've kind of merged into one. It's going to be difficult for me to click on the other one. With one of the two villagers mysteriously disappearing, our micro base is in a pretty good state. So we've got this guy right here. We've got all of our bits and pieces. This is a really solid start. Now, the first redstone contraption that I want to work on is fairly predictable. This crafting bench, I want to be able to swap it out for all the various other types of crafting benches and things that we now have in Minecraft. However, I'm already scratching my head because I can't think of how to create an input for this thing. We have no room for any buttons or anything, really. And this is why I build mega bases as opposed to tiny bases. But after a lot of looking, I think I might have found something. So if we go here and then right click there, then we might be able to take an observer output from it. Yes, can you hear that? Every single time I right click, the piston is firing. I've never been so thankful for 4 pixels in my entire life. And I can still take a comparator output from this lectern through the note block, which is going to be important for the future. Anyway, when it comes to this little block swapper here, the first thing that I'm doing is making it so that we extend the pulse that comes out from the observer and we run that into this piston. So if you imagine our crafting bench is here, that will drop down and that will give it the chance to be swapped out. And then these pistons right here are what are going to be doing the swapping. This is like a standard piston feed tape. And as always, the target block comes in again as the greatest block introduced in Minecraft history. Okay, that was a slight exaggeration, but I do still love it. If this works first time, I will absolutely be shocked and surprised. But I am going to give it a show of faith. I am going to put all of the correct blocks in. So we need things like the loom and the stone cutter and everything else. There it goes. Currently we have the crafting bench. If I perform a perfectly accurate right click, that should cycle through. And there we have the stone cutter. Okay, that's a good start. That's a good start. It could still go wrong, but that is a good start. All right. Smithing table. Okay, so we can upgrade our stuff from diamond to netherite. And then here we have the loom as well, so we can make loads of banners. That's fantastic. And then we should cycle back to the beginning again. There we go. It is actually working. That's fantastic. The only issue is it's taking up a bunch of important space, so I'm trying to rewire it a little bit smaller, which I've managed successfully. Now it's time for us to add a food supply into this thing, and that is going to be accessible from this barrel right here. I swapped our anvil out for it, and then the grindstone is going here. This is way better. Furnace is still accessible too. So I'm going to put our farm right the way underneath the ground, and the items are going to go up into this hopper, and then they're going to be transported through this item elevator which will then send them up into the barrel, which all seems to be working perfectly, despite how chaotic this area is down here, which is part of the reason why I've decided to go so low on this thing. So the farm that I'm going to be constructing is a fully automatic chicken farm. It's just a great way to get loads of food really easily, and the farm itself isn't particularly complicated. So when these guys lay eggs, then we're going to get baby chickens down here. When they eventually grow up, they'll grow up into larvae. Their drops will then make their way into this dropper, travel up through here, go across like this, into this item elevator, which is here, and then they'll travel up into this barrel here. That made it sound a lot more complicated than it actually is. And I'll be very curious to see how much chicken we have inside this barrel by the end of this video. Next up, villager swapper. Remember at the start of this video I wanted to have 2 villagers in this gap, but I couldn't really fit them in? Well, I still want to have 2 villagers, and I still can't really fit them in, but I think I can make this work. And unfortunately, it starts fairly morbidly. Why did you turn around as I'm about to do it? You know, I was fine with stabbing you in the back, but did he just nod? As if he's like, just kill me. Kill me, I've been in this 1x1 hole my entire life. I can't move, just end it. At least that makes me feel slightly better about the whole situation. Right, how much space have we got? We've got none. We have got no space. Okay. Alright. Okay. I think I've just about managed to relocate this item elevator circuit underneath our piston feed tape circuits. They're kind of on top of one another now. There's a lot going on in this area here, and I still haven't got onto the big build just yet. Come on then. Does this idea work? So there is our dude, and then down at the bottom here will be our other dude. Alright, the timing needs some work. Goodness gracious me, I've created an awkward situation down there. Let's try again. Why? Is it too late? Oh, whoa. How did you... Is he catching the edge? No way is this working. No way is this actually working. Alright, is it reliable? It seems to be reliable. This is baffling, but also fantastic. Absolutely amazing. The only change that I made is I added in trapdoors going along the side, because the guy at the bottom would occasionally catch the edge of the open trapdoor. Even though the trapdoor's open, he would catch the edge of it, and that would mean that he would stop. But now that we have those trapdoors, none of that catching is taking place, and we are getting clean swaps. This is amazing. The only issue being, once again, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to activate it. And that's when I had a really bright idea. If the system activates itself, then you don't need to have an input. So these villagers are going to be cycling around every 2 or 3 minutes. So if you want to trade with the one at the bottom, you just wait around a little bit, and then eventually he will pop up and you can trade with him. It's not 100% perfect, but it's a pretty good solution. And I, for one, am really happy with it. So here are our 2 villagers, and they're going to be periodically switching places throughout the rest of the video. At least that's what I thought, but this thing has done nothing but break. However, after an hour of getting progressively more angry, the system is all now fully functional. So I have access to my farmer, and then he's just been switched out for the blacksmith. And the way that I managed to get it to work smoothly is I got rid of the trapdoors and replaced them all with pistons, because the trapdoors were just doing weird stuff. I don't fully understand what was going on, but it wasn't good. But now they're gone, and everything is working perfectly, and this is a really cool system. I would say my anger was worthwhile. This is definitely a cool addition to the micro base. With that being said, it's not looking quite so micro when you look at it from underneath the ground. Anyway, now it's time to move on to the big project. At this point in time, we currently have no storage system on the inside of the tiny base, and that is a big issue because, well, storage systems for me are like the most important part of a base. That needs to be covered off. And the way that I'm going to do it is making use of this minecart chest right here, and this lectern. So inside this lectern, we're going to have a bunch of pages, and on those pages are going to be different items, and whatever page I land on in this book, those items are going to arrive in a minecart chest. So it's going to be like a rolling storage system. And I must admit, this idea sounded really simple in my head, but now that I'm thinking about it, probably isn't going to be that simple, is it? It's actually going to be quite complicated. Prepare yourselves for a bit of an explanation. The way this system is going to work is, as soon as I change a page in the book, the system is going to recognize this, and it is going to send the minecart that is already in the base back, and it's not going to allow any outputs to run through into the red coder until the minecart that is traveling from the base goes back into the red coder and the minecart storage system. Once the minecart storage system is then fully filled in, after a certain length of time, the page that has been inputted in the lectern will then be recognized by the red coder, and then that minecart will then travel across and go into the base. It sounds complicated. It is slightly complicated. It's a bit of a weird system. I've never really built anything like this before. Hopefully it works. The first part that I want to test is the minecart return system. So currently this slot right here in the minecart storage system is the only one that's empty. All the rest of them are filled, which means that the minecart that I put down here should return to that slot. So first things first, the system locks up, and then the minecart travels off, and there it is. It has been locked into position. That looked magical, didn't it? This guy just almost broke my redstone system. He has somehow managed to spawn literally inside my redstone and was starting to push minecarts around. What on earth? But now that the wandering trader is gone, I have no one else to blame. I am now the one that is consistently breaking my own redstone circuit. I just don't seem to be able to get it quite working properly, and it's hurting my brain quite a bit. But after a considerable amount of effort, I've managed to get the system up and running. So if we just pop inside our base here, you can see currently I've got the minecart chest with potatoes on the inside of it. And if I just go down to my lectern, you can see that the potatoes page is currently open. Now, if I want to, say for example, grab myself some diamonds, then you can see that our minecart chest will disappear for a certain length of time, and then eventually it will make its way back. And we actually have a little viewing window right here, so we should be able to see it whip past. It does take a little bit of time, but that is just to make sure that there's no mistakes or misalignments. But there we go. As you can see, we have got all of our diamonds. Now, if we go back over into the lectern, and let's say we wanted stone. Let's go for stone. Our diamonds have traveled up. They've made their way back into the system, so they are already stored. And then we just wait a little while. Eventually, our minecart will make its way along the minecart track, and we will get ourselves a bunch of stone. So there it is, and there it is. So our tiny little base has got itself actually a pretty large storage system, especially when you consider the fact that inside of these minecart chests, of course, you can actually store shulker boxes of items. So this could be your redstone area of the storage system, and then you'd have 27 shulker boxes filled with various different redstone supplies and things. I mean, honestly, what more could you need? Like, you don't actually need anything much more than this. So that storage system, coupled with our swapping villagers over there, so we've got ourselves a blacksmith, and we also have ourselves a farmer. Down here, we have got our barrel, which is filled with the cooked chicken, which that farm is not being particularly efficient. But we are getting food source, so that's coming up through there. We also have ourselves swapping crafting benches, and I can do that by right-clicking right here. So you can see crafting bench swaps out. We get ourselves a stone cutter. If we right click again, we get ourselves this thing that I always forget the name of. I've got a brewing stand, I've got myself an anvil, I've got myself a furnace down at the bottom here, I've got myself a grindstone. Obviously I have an ender chest right here, which will be filled in with all of my valuables. I still can't get over how satisfying this villager swapper is. I mean, it's just so much fun to watch. And finally, down in the corner here, I have managed to just about squeeze in an enchanting table. Now, unfortunately, it's not a max level enchanting table. In fact, it's a pretty low level enchanting table, but my excuse for this is normally you would have your max level enchanting table over at your XP grinder. My excuse has been successfully deployed. All in all, I would say this tiny little thing is really quite feature packed. I mean, look at it. It is essentially a 1x1 base in the center here. We have one block to move around in. This is the door, so that kind of doesn't count. It's absolutely tiny. With that being said though, if we go underneath the ground, yeah, there definitely is a little bit of iceberg effect going on here, isn't there? There's a lot hiding underneath the surface. But in my opinion, I think that just adds to the coolness. This thing is like a reverse flex. It's like the opposite of having a gigantic mansion. I think it's wicked. I hope you like it as well. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next Minecraft video. See ya! And I've got to say, it feels incredibly good to be back recording Minecraft Redstone videos. I've been focusing a lot on the Hermitcraft server recently, which has been a ton of fun. But it's been like a month since I've actually sat down and made a proper Redstone video outside of the short explaining comparators. And it is so cool just diving headfirst into a silly Minecraft build where I can just build goofy stuff. It's proper cool.